Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. We had a pretty lengthy board meeting this week, but we covered a lot of items, including we had a presentation from our land use specialist, Holly Backus, about a conference she recently attended in Rhode Island called Keeping History Above Water. And it was all about protecting historic resources in the face of sea level rise and climate change. And a lot of cities and towns and everybody is talking about how to deal with, buildings and residences and infrastructure that is within proximity to the ocean, and how to, building materials, planning efforts. It was quite interesting, but a little scary too.
All right.
So she's just reporting out about it, and I'm sure that we're going to be over time, sooner rather than later, talking about building code issues and stuff, things like that. We already are. Flood level, flood.
FEMA has already determined that if you rebuild.
It has, and so sometimes those FEMA requirements clash with preservation needs. I don't know what the phraseology is, but that's going to be interesting going forward.
Okay.
We had a request for a license for a kiteboard business, which is allowed under the town code, and we approved that.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Where's that going?
That's going out in the harbor somewhere. I don't really know where.
Really? Is it the first of its kind?
No, there was a license last year, but the group didn't come back this year, at least yet. There was a little bit of discussion. We've only had the ability to license kiteboards businesses for a couple of years now, about a year. And the concern a little bit is, what if we get a whole bunch of them? And if we get a whole bunch of them, they take up a lot of space, kiteboarders. And so.
But they don't have to be in the harbor.
No, they could be elsewhere. I mean, they're not. I don't think they're right in the harbor. They're probably they're out more towards Pulpus, at a harbor area, at Cotu in there.
All right.
And if we start getting a lot more requests, then we are going to have to consider limiting these businesses. So, but we'll just play that out, see how it works. We had a couple public hearings. We had what's called the junk dealer's license. This is really just a license for the sale of secondhand items. And there was some unexpected public comment about this. That's happening at 2 South Beach Street. South Beach? Yeah, it's where Orrin Moore is, that building.
Oh.
So it's not a junk shop. It's a jewelry shop, but it's a lot of estate things apparently, and it's not original. They didn't make these things.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So there was some question about why do we have to, not from the applicant, but from someone else, why are we doing this? And it's a state law. We haven't been enforcing it lately, but we are now. So we're going around to try to get these people licensed. It's just a license. It's not that big of a deal. Slip 14 came in for an alteration of premises to their liquor license. They're down there in Old North Wharf.
What are they doing?
Not Old North Wharf, Old South Wharf.
South, yeah.
They are expanding a bit, but he didn't mention seating expansion. So I think it's just, it sounded like he just needs some more space for like a raw bar and stuff. That was continued from the prior week, but that got approved. We also had the Firecracker 5K race organizers in. Now, this was a groups that have large events of 200 people or more are required to come to the town for a public assembly permit. And if it's a recurring event that doesn't change, they get approved once and then they basically keep doing it without a subsequent public hearing. However, if there is a change, it comes back to the board for a public hearing. So the Firecracker 5K, in the last 25 years, it's been growing and growing and growing. And last summer, it hit a kind of a wall a little bit with the Rotary. And there was a lot of traffic backups and a lot of people running through there, and our office got complaints that people missed boats, they missed planes because they couldn't get to the airport, they couldn't get downtown, they missed or were late for events downtown. So we started a discussion with the race organizers about changing the route and or changing the time. Starts at 8. It's pretty well over by 9, but not everybody's in by 9 who's in the race because there are walkers and others. So there was a lot of discussion about changing the route and changing the time. And in the end, the route was left the same, but the time will change from 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. The other difficulty with the event is parking. There is not enough parking for the 1,000 or so people that are in this event. Some people probably get there via bike or get dropped off. We need that to increase. Please don't drive your car there. People parked all over Amelia Drive on both sides. They parked in business driveways. They parked in residential driveways. And it really caused a problem. Starts at the Nantucket Health Club on Young's Way.
Oh, yeah.
And goes out to the Rotary, down Milestone a little bit, down Monomoy to the end, back the same way. And so we're really encouraging people to get there, if you're going to do the race, in a different way than driving there. The race organizers are going to have a billboard up 2 or 3 days ahead of time at the Rotary, advising people that, for this short period of time, on Saturday, July 2nd, there will be, the Rotary will be shut off. Now, I'm sure that if you had to get through, like you have to go to the hospital or something like that, or you are trying to catch a boat, you tell one of the detail officers and they'll figure out how to get you through without putting the runners in danger. But so we know it now, so try to plan ahead if you're thinking about doing anything on that day. So that was that. We had, what else did we do? We had third quarter budget reports for the Island Home and the Sewer and Solid Waste Enterprise Funds. We talked about the housing project at 6 Fairgrounds Road, the town-owned property. And Tucker Holland, our independent housing consultant, was in, and he discussed where we are with that project. And he had a pretty detailed PowerPoint that went through it, and that is online. And to make a long story short, we're moving ahead with all the various things that need to be in place before we issue a request for proposals to engage a developer to develop that site. And I think the idea is that we engage a developer who funds the development. There may be some infrastructure that the town will need to fund, like a road, maybe even a sewer line. We don't know yet. Those details have not been laid out or finalized. So the board asked a lot of questions about it. We talked about density a bit and who it would be for. We have I know everybody needs housing. The town is no exception. We have some real issues with housing employees. We then talked about, well, we didn't really talk about this. I reviewed with the board the follow-up to the 2016 annual town meeting. And a lot of things have to happen after the town meeting. Things have to get sent to the state. They have to get dealt with internally. Public outreach needs to be done, so we talked about some of that. We also talked about a fall special town meeting. And I have some late-breaking news on that you'll be the first to know about it. We scheduled it and then discovered that wasn't a good date after I told half the free world that was a good date. So we are going to have to schedule it again at next week's meeting. Luckily, it's so far out that I'm sure nobody's really paid that much attention yet. We were saying it was going to be on Wednesday, October 12th. That turns out to be a significant religious holiday. So we are going to I'm going to recommend that we do it on Monday, October 17th.
What day is that, religious holiday?
It's Yom Kippur.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to recommend that we change that to the 17th. Not a big deal, but I should have anticipated that. It's my fault. We talked about what will be on the special town meeting warrant. So at minimum, we will have articles that relate to a second sewer project for Matticat, Warren's Landing, and Somerset needs areas. We've been talking about this for the last few months. Also, our Island Home, an appropriation for construction of a new facility. The board at its meeting next week intends to make a decision on the location of that facility. So that's going to be.
Why didn't we have both Matticat and
why didn't we do them
all on the same? Why do we have to have two town meetings?
Well, the board talked a lot about that in the months leading up to the annual town meeting, and in the end, the final analysis, I guess, was that it was two big, these are big projects, $40 million plus projects. And they felt that putting two of those, for one thing, they felt putting two of those on one warrant was a lot to ask the voters. The other thing was that it was felt that we hadn't done enough public outreach to educate the Mattocket, Warren's Landing, and Somerset people about why we're doing this, how it's going to impact them financially, things like that. So,
Well,
and I think
it's still going to cost the same amount of money anyway.
it
Whether you put it on the
is.
same one or you split it up.
Well, that was also brought up a number of times,
Yeah.
but that's what happened.
Okay. So education is kind of the,
Education is going to be key. We also the board had a sort of a preparatory discussion about strategic planning. Their workshop in May 11th, is going to be devoted to the topic of strategic planning, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, what it is going to entail. And that was mostly it for last week's meeting. Next week's meeting is, this gets a little deceiving. It looks kind of short, but the short agendas turn out to be not short in many
is the discussion
instances.
going to happen?
I think so. We have the energy coordinator coming in, Lauren Sinatra, to give her quarterly energy report. She comes in quarterly and updates us on her various activities. It's always pretty interesting. The director of finance will come in, and we're going to look at some software that we purchased a few months ago that's meant to be, what's it meant? It's meant to be allow more transparency in the budget process and the budget in general and financial information for the public. So he's going to give a little demo about that. We're going to talk about the special town meeting debacle. Not debacle. What's that? I can't think of the word.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a redo of the scheduling.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to give the board, I give them a monthly town management activities report. It's really just a list of some of the things we've been working on that might be of interest to them, or, so that they know some of the stuff isn't falling through the cracks, hopefully. And then we are going to have the Island Home location discussion. And I will have a recommendation for the board on that, and it will be based on a number of different factors, and I'm sure we will have a good crowd there. They are going to continue their discussion about strategic planning. And
Now, the Island Home,
that's it. Yes.
are we going to convert that to something else? There was talk about
Okay.
Salt Marsh being there, or no?
Oh, you mean the property?
Yeah, the property.
Well, that I think is going to be a second recommendation, to establish a reuse work group. There are a lot of different options for that property. They include selling to the property to the land bank for fair market value. They include reusing the building somehow, maybe for a senior center, maybe for offices, maybe for housing. I've heard a lot of different ideas. So I think we just need to get a group together to evaluate them, come up with a list, and then evaluate them cost-wise and feasibility-wise and other factors, and then make a recommendation to the board. So those are things that are going on in town government. And Gino, Clean Team starts tomorrow.
Oh,
They're going to be at the Rotary at 8 a.m., 1 hour, clean up. So look at their website.
so yeah, they go to cleanteam.org.
Cleanteam.org, actcleanteam.org,
All right.
I think it is. And
They
every
meet, yeah.
Saturday, they meet at a different location from 8 to 9. In the height of the summer, they are always at the downtown Stop and Shop parking lot. So you can choose to do a downtown cleanup or wherever their other location is. And hopefully we'll get a good crowd tomorrow. Meet at the Rotary tomorrow, 1 hour cleanup. You don't even have,
What time is that?
it starts at 8.
Oh, okay.
You could go for half an hour, 45 minutes. But it's a really good way to start the day.
They always start at 8?
Always start at 8.
Okay. And
Yep.
they always meet at the Stop and Shop?
In July and August, and maybe
Yeah.
a little bit of June, they
Oh,
meet at the
all right.
downtown Stop and
Okay.
Shop.
All right.
And there's been some personnel changes on the Clean Team over the past few months, so I'm pretty sure that's how it'll be. I'm just a sort of fair weather clean teamer, so if it's raining,
That's great you
I'm
do
not
that,
doing it.
though.
But if it's not raining, I try to get there on Saturdays. What else? Big weekend.
Yeah, Daffy, here
Daffy.
we go.
The downtown looks good, I think, for getting cleaned up.
Yeah.
And all the landscapers are frantically cleaning up Sconset, I heard.
Okay.
So, and I saw them at the Rotary today. So hopefully it all is going to look great for the weekend. So it's exciting. It's a kickoff.
Yeah,
Kickoff
Slightly.
weekend, slightly,
all right,
yeah. All right, got any questions or anything?
that's it.
All right, thanks very much, see you next time.